Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Melanie Ludy and I make videos on digital tools for teaching to help make your life easier. So this week we're gonna go into Google Forms, which saves me so much time during the week. I also make my end of lesson quizzes with the whole round of true, false, matching, multiple choice, short answer, long answer. Let's get into the specifics so you can start using this program. Let's start in Google Drive. So I'm in Drive and I'm gonna go to New and I'm gonna go Google Forms and I'll click Blank Form. So when I'm in here, the first thing I always do is I change the title. So in this case, we'll say Rock Cycle EOL Quiz. Or let's just say Sample Quiz, because I actually have a quiz under that title. Okay, so I've changed it there, and then that's my first lovely trick. If you change it at one and then click the other, it'll change that title for you so you don't have to write it twice. Okay, next I'm gonna go and hit this little palette. It says customize theme. So then I can just choose my colors, I can choose a header, I can make it as beautiful as I like. Usually I just change the colors just for my own stuff, but get as creative as you like. So I'm gonna make this one orange and I'll choose my background color to be that one. I can also change my font style. I usually stick with basic, but you know, decorative looks nice if you were doing like an RSVP kind of thing on here, or you could do just a formal for a change in font, and then there's playful here. This would be fun for younger grades, although I might stick with that basic font just because it's really easy to read, especially for those younger kids when they're still trying to get a grasp on letters and sounds. So I've changed my title, I've changed my color. This I is a preview, so when I finish my quiz, we'll hit this button so we can see what it looks like. But let's go to settings. So in settings, this is kind of my general list. I always turn on collect email addresses. It puts a name on every form that I want. The only time I don't toggle that is when I'm doing a survey, which I actually just did with my 8th graders this week, and I'm really excited to see how it turned out. So I generally will limit to one response for my end of lesson quizzes. But I flipped my classroom, so they have a video quiz that they have to do at the beginning of the week. That one, I don't turn that button on because I want them to take it until they understand. So this case we will though. I also leave edit after submit and see summary charts and text responses untoggled. They don't need to see those. All right, presentation. I can show progress bar or I can shuffle question order. I generally don't toggle these just because I have my questions progress in a certain order. But if you were doing like just a general math test and you wanted the questions all multiple choice and shuffled so they couldn't cheat, go for it. I like to know that it's an option. And then quizzes. This is the most important one. Make this a quiz. So when you do this, it'll turn on answer keys and it'll allow auto grading. It saves me so much time to have parts of these quizzes or these forms auto graded. I usually try and remember to turn on this button that says later after manual review. I generally don't remember, and then I get hounded with emails from students and parents and being like, my kid had the correct answer according to the form, but it still marked it wrong. Yeah, the form is gonna mark your short answer wrong until I go in and hand grade it. So I try to remember to hit this button to save myself that grief, but apparently I haven't had enough grief yet because I still don't remember to do it every time. So respondents can see missed questions, correct answers, and point values. I generally leave all of that on just so they can know what the answer was supposed to be so they can make corrections for next time. All of this looks good now, so I'll hit save. So let's go to the actual making of questions. You can go as simple as multiple choice. We'll start there. So like, what is not a class of rock? Which is not, sorry, grammar. And then we'll put in our 3 classes, our sedimentary, and our igneous, and our metamorphic, and believe it or not, a big rock. I actually had a student answer this. I was tempted to give them points just for sheer comedy value, but I digress. So then I can add an image over here. So I like to search by Google image search here. So maybe I'll say like metamorphic, that's one word, metamorphic rock. And let's see, which one of these looks nice? I want something with curved bands so that they can really kind of see it. You know what, let's shorten this process and actually just say the name of a rock. There we go. That one looks good. And then I'll hit insert, loading, Here's my image, all big and beautiful. I can also make this a lot smaller so it's not terribly overwhelming. And it's automatically sensed that I wanted multiple choice, so it did that. So I also have the option of short answer, paragraphs, checkboxes, drop down. They can upload a file, linear scale, multiple choice grid, checkbox grid, date, and time. This looks good to me. Let me make this required. I can also show a description, go to section based on answers, shuffle option order. All of that is just meh, we don't need it. So this looks good. I'm gonna create a new question. So let's create a checkbox question here. So let's see, which of the following are igneous rocks? So we'll say granite, and we'll say basalt, I think is one. Gneiss I know is not. Yes, that's how that's said, gneiss. And sandstone I know is not. I double checked myself. I am right. Let's change this to checkboxes. So checkboxes mean we can select multiple answers. When I do this, I usually put it in the question, select 2 in caps or whatever, just to make sure that they're going for the right number. So I'll write select 2, make this required. And let's see, what other kind should we talk about? We should talk about short answer, we should talk about paragraph, and we should do a grid here. All right, so let's do a grid first. So I like to use this for matching. Match the term and the definition. I tend to put my bigger text in the rows just because it spaces out better. If you put too much big text in the columns, you have to scroll back and forth to read it all, and it's not conducive, and students generally get tripped up by it. In my row, I'm gonna write my definitions. We wanted to do a short answer too. So this button down here is different. Require a response in each row. That's gonna require them to answer in each spot. I have had students get confused though and just put like a response in each column and then be confused on why it won't let them submit. Make sure your students do know the difference between a row and a column if you toggle that. Let's add another short answer. Sense that I wanted a paragraph. Good. Let's add a multiple choice question with pictures as options. Which of the following pictures is a sedimentary rock? So then I can click the little picture icon over here and we'll search for granite, which is an igneous rock. That looks good. Thinks hard about it. I can even write that in, although in a normal quiz I wouldn't because they would try and search for the rocks and not even look at the picture. So maybe we'll actually be real in how I do this and just say A. Ooh, good. So it also brought up this option, add all, and it gave me suggested answers it can add. So like if I put true or false in a question, it'll come up with those answers to suggest. It'll also come up with like yes, no, or maybe for answers for like survey questions, which we will get into in a bit. So I'm gonna add all of those, and then I can add pictures for each one. Image options would be great for your students who are ESL or even some of our special education students, making all of our content accessible. The other thing I want you to know is there's this 6 dots that comes up next to each option. I can click that and I can just drag these options around. So if I wanted to reshuffle the questions, because I realized I wrote them in the right order, I could just shuffle them around so kids have to think about it a little harder. All right, let's go through and make an answer key. So you click on the question and you hit this blue answer key at the bottom. I'm gonna go click the correct answer. And then for multiple choice, I generally do not leave answer feedback. I will for my short answer and long answer though. But I clicked my correct answer and then I'm gonna change my point value and it automatically updates up here. So I could keep a total of, say, if my quizzes are always 10 points, I know, okay, I can only have so many more points left to divvy out. Again, those 6 dots up here, I could move this question down and switch it with things, anything I wanted. Let's add this answer key. Select 2. So this will get tricky. In our answer, if I don't select both correct answers, it'll mark it 0 out of 2 points. So then you would have to go in and give them like credit for one of the choices if they got one of them right. That's going to depend on how you want to grade things. I generally won't use these kinds of questions anymore though, just because of that. I won't always remember to go back and give them half credit for the one answer they did get. Trying to make my life simpler with these forms. So which 2 are igneous? These 2 are igneous. And I'll put 2. This next one, let's do this answer key because it already has this green check here, which tells me I did it. Here we go. Generally going to mark all other answers incorrect anyway. So you'll add this as an answer, but your students aren't going to capitalize it the same way you will. They're going to like forget a letter when they spell it. Or if you have a list of things, they're not going to put spaces and commas where you do, and then it's going to mark those wrong anyway. I add it as a correct answer, mostly so when I go back and grade it, the answer key pops up with each one I'm grading, so it requires me to think very little when I'm going through and grading each one. So I don't have to remember, hey, it's igneous metamorphic sediment. It just has the list right there for me, and I can compare them and be like, okay, that one's right, that one's wrong, and just knock it out. Let me add another question actually so you can see what I'm talking about. Also, I had a lot of students write manga instead of magma on their quizzes, and it very much entertained me. The student mistakes, man, sometimes they get us through. Alright, that looks good now. I'm going to put this in that 7A Google Classroom. So we're back in this quiz. We have all of the answers set out. Let's preview it. So this is what it's going to look like from the student side. So they'll have to put in their email address. It tells them their points over here. Show them all of this. See what I mean? This text right here, it folds down nicely in the page rather than across. And it's so much easier to read and work with. And then they can answer these things here. And it even makes it into a nice 4 square box for you. And then there's a submit at the bottom. So I went to my other account and I took the quiz quick so we can grade it and look at it. So now I have responses up here. It marked it as 1. So the summary, it says I got a 5. And it tells me the missed questions here, the score, the chart of what I got wrong, etc. So you can see common answers you could analyze there, be like, oh, okay, everybody got question 4 wrong. We should go back over that. You also have the option of having the chart copied. I'm using this for those surveys that I'm doing with my 8th graders. They're gonna copy these charts and put them in a document and do like a whole lab report. I'm super excited for it. So I can go by question and just see what they got wrong by question. I tend to stick to the individuals though. So we're here, let's check it out. So like I said, they didn't pick I didn't pick both of the correct answers, so it gave them a 0. I would give them a 1 in this case. All right, so they got that wrong. That looks fine. This is all auto-graded for you, so you can just literally scroll on by, save yourself all that time. So this one, I changed the spelling a little bit. Well, I used the different verb tense, and I didn't capitalize, so it marked it as wrong. Give myself those 2 points back, and I threw in the little manga spelling as an ode to my students, but I technically did get it right if you're gonna trust that that's magma. This is garbage, so it's a 0, although it's out of 0 anyway because I forgot to give it points. And then this one was auto-graded as right. Then I hit save, and then it saves my score 12 out of 15. And then this summary here will have fixed itself like you just saw. So then I could release the score. So when I do that, it's gonna send it back to the student with their score report. However, I generally won't do that just because I'll put it in Google Classroom so they can grade it from there. In this case, I will send the email and release because I toggled later after manual review. So when I'm in here, I could click the all respondents, assuming there was more than just me taking this, and then everyone would get theirs back at once. Let's create a survey because that's a little different. Oh, and I forgot to tell you about videos. You can put videos in here, guys. Let's do rock cycle. CQ means comprehension quiz. This is what I do with my videos at the beginning of each week. So I'm gonna go this add video option, and I'm gonna go by URL, and I'm just gonna go find that video real quick. Stand by. All right, so I found it. There it is. And then I can title the video rock cycle, and I can make that screen bigger, which I generally do, just so they can see the graphics and everything a little bit closer. Make this a survey, so I love the suggested answers. It makes life so wonderful. So in this case, it's just a form, so it's just collecting answers. If it's an anonymous survey, you're gonna leave this unchecked. Probably still limit to 1 response though. And then save. We didn't talk about adding a section. So we're in here, so let's click this and it's add a section. Section 2, we'll add a question. Again, with the suggested options coming in clutch. So let me send this to my other email so my other email can take it and I can show you. So I sent the form in the email. It's a little checkbox on there. So let me go do that quick. I release the score back to myself. This is what it sends me. I can hit view, and then it'll show me all of my correct and incorrect answers, including the correct answers in case I as a student wanted to go back and make corrections. Super helpful in that sense. So I have this form sent to me by the YouTube account, so I can fill it out in Google Forms, or I can fill it out right here. So you'll notice it gives me just those first 2 questions. I would have to continue to that next section. So she was awesome, absolutely, continue, and it takes me to this second section anyway. Yes, she was knowledgeable about her content, and submit. So this 3 dots over here, you could make a copy of this quiz. Say it's like a check-in form you're doing with your kids. I make copies of it all the time and I just change the dates on it because I want it separated by week in my own Google Drive, but I'm not really changing any of the quizzes. Super handy for that. I can print it, add collaborators. This is how you share the quiz with other kind of owners. So then those other editors would be able to check out the summary pages and the individual responses. So generally you're not going to share this with your students. You might share it with like your principal if it's a survey, or your research partners if you're doing a survey or something like that. Maybe your special education co-teacher if they want to be able to look at their students' reports. You can also have default settings so that you're not constantly checking the same couple settings. So like collect email addresses, I would probably toggle because I do that all the time. Make questions required, Default point value, I'd probably make it 2, just because normally that's what my questions are. This could save you a lot of time also when you're just making quizzes all the time like we do. So this trash can here would delete an individual response. If I have a student who just puts in random letters for short answer instead of trying to answer it, I might delete their response and be like, you actually have to answer the short answer. Please do this quiz again. Especially if I'm limiting them to one response. That would be great for that. You might also do that if you have like a strange outlier in your survey for some reason. Although generally you shouldn't get rid of data because data is truthful, but it's an option for you. You also could print a response. So it loads the preview and it has the questions on here. So if you were gonna make a Google form, you could just have it print and that would be your quiz you give in building. If you went to these 3 dots up here though, get email notifications for new responses. For updated contact forms, 100% that's what I use that for. Print all responses, delete all responses. So if you wanted to totally refresh the form for some reason, you could do that. Also, if you ever do your answer key incorrectly and you pick a wrong answer because you're just hustling to get through, once you switch it, all of those grades will be updated with the new answer key. So it's not the end of the world. Everything will be totally fine. All right, guys, that'll do it for this video on Google Forms. Make sure you stick around for the rest of this series that'll happen in later weeks when I cover slides, docs, sheets, and Jamboard. If you liked this video, hit that like button down below so I know to make more videos like it, and maybe hit that subscribe button down below. That way you'll get notified anytime I post a new video. Thank you again for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.